History, as we've seen, seems to repeat itself time and again when it comes to the Jewish people. And this week marks the 518th anniversary of the Lisbon Massacre of 1506, during which thousands of Jews of Portugal were brutally murdered over the course of 3 days. This as onlookers cheered and rejoiced. Now, the Jewish community of Porto is releasing a new historical film called 1506, The Lisbon Genocide, with the trailer already getting 1 million views. Take a look. And we are now joined live from Porto, Portugal, by Dr. Michael Rothwell, the director of the Holocaust and Jewish Museum of Porto. Hag Sameach, and good to see you again. I was with you not too long ago, and now we're here remotely. Hard to believe that so much has happened since I was there in September, and the fact that this movie was being made already, seeking to show that the Lisbon Massacre did not take place in a vacuum, just as October 7th, as stated by Portugal's former Prime Minister, now UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres.
Hello, Emily, and Hag Sameach. Yes, it's incredible what has happened since your visit to Porto in September. As you rightly said, we had planned to make this film quite a while ago, and it's incredible that it's released now in the context of the 7th of October massacre.
A few weeks after we were there, this happened. And, explain for our viewers, listen, a lot of people showing more of an interest in the Inquisition and the descendants of those that were kicked out of Spain and Portugal that are all over the world. But explain why the Lisbon Massacre was such a historic and massive event in Jewish history.
I'm sorry, I missed what you said just then, Emily. Could you repeat, please?
The massacre was such a massive historical event in Jewish history.
Yes, the 1506 massacre is a subject we decided to make a film about, because although people talk about the Inquisition, this incredible large-scale massacre in Lisbon in 1506 is largely forgotten. And even those people who know about it are not aware of its scale and its brutality. If you want, I can tell you a little bit about the story.
Yes, please do.
So it's important to understand the context of this massacre, which is a period in which 10 years after the Jews of Portugal have been forcibly converted, but the king decided to turn a blind eye for 20 years in terms of really checking up on whether the new Christians, that's the name for the converted Jews, were being good Catholics, or whether they were continuing to practice their Jewish practices secretly. And there was a lot of, and I should mention that the Inquisition in Portugal only started 30 years later. So we're talking about the context of this grace period, and this grace period apparently caused a lot of suspicion amongst the people and amongst priests as to whether these new Christians were faithful converts or heretics, because, as I say, no checking up was being done until the start of the Inquisition. And another important aspect of the context is the hardships that people were going through. There was a drought which led to no
thirst and starvation,
low food production and starvation, and at the same time there was the pest, the Black Plague. And so the people had a lot of hardships, and it was very easy, as we know from many incidents along our history, it was very easy to start pointing the finger at the Jews as being responsible for all the evils that befell them. So let's say that a context was created where if there was any trigger, then such an event would happen. And the trigger occurred.
Michael, I'm sorry. I wish we were not out of time, but we'll have to continue this conversation. Thank you so much for being here. And everyone, go see the movie, a very important history.